Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Crypto Invest. Over the weekend, we have seen quite a showdown between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. This is where Bitcoin Cash price rises very quickly from around $800 to $2,400, and Bitcoin price fall really quickly from the low 7,000 all the way down to a low at $5,500. So it was a lot of chaos. A lot of people was very shocked, very confused. Some are very angry, and some others are really scared. You know, they called it the cashing, where Bitcoin Cash is attempting to take over Bitcoin at the #1 spot in terms of market cap. But I think if they were successful, it won't stop there. I think it's gonna be a lot more than just taking the #1 spot in terms of market cap. They want to replace Bitcoin as the main Bitcoin. You know, and there was a lot of people was asking the question, is Bitcoin Cash the real Bitcoin? Although on this channel, as you know, I am coming from an investment standpoint. I don't have any strong feeling about Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash. I do own both, and I think a smart thing for a lot of people is to ensure that you do always carry a balance of Bitcoin Cash equal to the amount of Bitcoin you are currently holding. So that way, if something would have happened and Bitcoin go to zero and Bitcoin Cash become Bitcoin, for example, then you will be okay. So I highly recommend you to reconsider that. But in this video, I do want to present some information for you to make the determination as to whether you think Bitcoin Cash can replace Bitcoin, and if that would have happened, what need to be done in order for Bitcoin Cash to accomplish that. As always, this is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as investment advice. So let's get into it. So in my mind, there are 4 things that Bitcoin Cash needs to win against Bitcoin in order for Bitcoin Cash to overtake Bitcoin. And the things that I'm thinking that need to happen are, #1, they do have to win in the number of transaction processing. #2, they have to win in miner support, meaning they must be the dominant chain with a lot of hash rate. And of course, #1, they have to win in the number of transactions, meaning that the most transactions need to be happen on the Bitcoin Cash network, not the Bitcoin network. And #3, they have to have business acceptance. So anywhere that willing to accept Bitcoin currently must be willing to accept Bitcoin Cash. And #4, they must have institutional acceptance. A lot of people may not care about institutional acceptance. I get that, but they are a powerful force regardless. And regardless if you like institutional people coming into the space or not, they are coming, regardless if you like it or not. So we cannot just discount and ignore the institutional force. They do have a lot of experience, and they do have a lot of power and money, and they are coming in, and you must take them into consideration when you are accessing cryptocurrencies market. So let's go into each of these in a little more details. So currently, if you are looking at CoinMarketCap, Bitcoin is currently sitting at $7,853. It has been recovered very quickly from the fall happened last week after SegWit 2x got cancelled. It went to 7,900, and then it fall all the way down to, as you know now, as low as $5,400, $5,500 after the Bitcoin Cash event. And in contrast, Bitcoin Cash being retraced quite a bit. So the higher Bitcoin Cash was around 2,400. So if you look at the Bitcoin Cash chart the last 7 days, so the higher Bitcoin Cash was around 2,446 according to CoinMarketCap, and currently it is sitting at $908. And as far as Bitcoin, after it went at low at $5,519 back over the weekend, is recovered all the way up to the current value at $7,800. Now keep in mind that when this was happening, Bitcoin Cash was rising very quickly in the matter of a few hours, going all the way on November 10th at around $800, $900, all the way up until the high at 2,400. And at the same time, Bitcoin Cash is almost an invert of that. It's falling all the way down to $5,500. So at the peak of Bitcoin Cash over the weekend, it was about half a Bitcoin. So a lot of people still think that, oh wow, Bitcoin is still twice the value at Bitcoin Cash. But remember, if you look at Bitcoin, let me zoom out to about 3 months. So we are looking at the 1-year chart for Bitcoin. And if you look at this on your screen, back in July, Bitcoin was at around $2,400. So in a matter of 4 months, Bitcoin went from $2,400 to the current price at $7,800 in 4 months. So in theory, you could, if Bitcoin Cash is sitting at $2,400, at the time people were thinking that, wow, you know, they could really make it to replace Bitcoin in terms of #1 market cap in a matter of months. So that's how scary it was. I do want to point that out so you can see the magnitude of what has just happened. For me at the time, I was just more amazed than anything else. I mean, I have never seen anything like this before, but I have said it a lot in cryptocurrencies because I have never seen any assets that behave like Bitcoin in terms of value rising and falling. And I've been trading for a very long time. And now, you know, Bitcoin Cash surprised me in terms of how quickly they can catch up to Bitcoin in terms of pricing. Now, since then, it cooled out quite a bit and is sitting at under $1,000 now at the moment. But that was really the first time that Bitcoin Cash really flexed its muscle. The people behind Bitcoin Cash really showcased their power over the weekend, whoever they are. And a lot of people take notice. And even though they failed in this attempt of taking over Bitcoin in terms of market cap, I don't think this is going to be an isolated event. I don't think this is going to be the only event. It's going to happen again in the future, and with even more preparation and even bigger magnitude. And at the moment, Bitcoin Cash seen the split from Bitcoin back in August was sitting at number 3. But it's been sitting at around $300 to $400 for the longest time. And in cryptocurrencies, a few months is the longest time until the recent move up very quickly. And now it's really on a lot of people's radar as a premier altcoin at the moment. And during the whole event over the weekend, Bitcoin Cash really is big in terms of market cap to the point where it's replaced Ethereum at the number 2 market cap for about a few hours. And that was really significant and really interesting to see. I know that a lot of people think that there's a conspiracy out there about Bitcoin Cash trying to take over Bitcoin starting as early as May during the New York agreement, and then the whole Bitcoin Cash split in August, and then SEC 2x suspended, and then right after that Bitcoin Cash is rising. I know there's a lot of conspiracy. I don't have any evidence for that, so I am not going to speak about that. The one thing I do know for sure is that this is an unregulated market, and there are a few people with a lot of Bitcoin and a lot of Bitcoin Cash that have a lot of influence over the network, have a lot of influence over the miners. So that's I can say. Now, in order to answer the questions, could Bitcoin Cash replace Bitcoin at all level? Meaning that, from what I said earlier, they are going to replace Bitcoin Cash in terms of the #1 transactional Bitcoin processing. They're going to have the most miner support. They're going to have the most businesses support. And then a lot of institutional money are going into Bitcoin Cash. Well, at that time, if they're taking over and they're taking over the name, it's going to call Bitcoin and become the real Bitcoin. First, we have to identify what is Bitcoin. And I don't mean the technical sense of what is Bitcoin. I mean, what do you consider Bitcoin? Do you consider Bitcoin a transactional currency that you use to buy and sell item with, or as a medium of exchange, or you consider Bitcoin a store of value. And there's no right or wrong. And I know that people from both sides of the fence, but the one thing I can tell you, whatever you consider Bitcoin is, the one thing I can tell you for me personally, at this moment, and of course it's subject to change as new information coming in, but at the moment, for me, Bitcoin is a store of values. And the reason why is because it's not an effective medium of exchange, or it doesn't act as an effective cryptocurrencies in the true sense of currencies. And the reason why is, if you take a look at the blockchain.info, we currently have 58,000 unconfirmed transactions at the moment, and that is quite a bit. And a lot of people blame this whole unconfirmed transaction on what happened over the weekend, where Bitcoin lost a lot of mining power that went over to Bitcoin Cash because it was more profitable for them to do so. And because of that, we have a backlog, and the backlog is now currently sitting at 58,000 unconfirmed transactions. It was a bit higher earlier today at around 61,000, so it's go down a little bit, but it has been going up and down. So this would matter to you, because if you send money on a Bitcoin network right now, you are going to experience a lot of fees and delay. And let me explain to you what that looks like. So if we jump over here, and let me do just the last 6 months. So what you're looking at here is the Bitcoin average transaction fee history chart. So an average transaction fee the last 6 months is not cheap, guys. So before we look at the last 6 months, let's take a look at all time. At the beginning, Bitcoin is a true currency in the sense that is a peer-to-peer with a very little fee. As you can see, the fee is 0.03 cent. Is almost negligible at this moment. So you're almost able to send Bitcoin for free. But the last 6 months, that haven't been the key. As you can see that the trend is rising as far as how much it costs in average to send Bitcoin. And it seemed to be rising fairly quickly, starting back in August, when it took about $9 per transaction, and then all the way into recently it went as high at $19 to send Bitcoin, and at the moment we are sitting at almost $14 to send Bitcoin, which is quite significant compared to Bitcoin Cash. So Bitcoin Cash at the moment is a better way if you only have two choices between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. You are going to be better off sending and receiving Bitcoin Cash, because at the current level, Bitcoin Cash transaction fee is less than 45 cents per transaction, and it was pretty cheap just a couple months ago back in August, where it's less than 10 cents. So it's very little. Now, I do want to remind you that in this scenario, Bitcoin Cash is a better way to send and receive versus Bitcoin if you only have two choices. But in reality, you don't have two choices. You do have Litecoin, you have Dash, you have Stellar Lumen, you have Ripple, you have a whole other cryptocurrency that you can transact with. And all of them have significantly less fee than Bitcoin Cash for the most part, and they are much faster. Dash is much faster than Bitcoin Cash, and it is a much more better way to transact using Dash than Bitcoin Cash. So that's the reality of it. But if we're only looking at to the lens of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash is a better way to do so. So I want to point this out because a lot of argument is surrounding transaction fee between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, which is not a fair comparison, because if I only care about how quickly my transaction gonna get confirmed, and the cheapest way to do that, I would have gone with Ripple or Stellar Lumen, because it's a lot cheaper and a lot faster. So keep that in mind. Now moving on. So if you take a look at the chart in front of you, the way that this is gonna read is the blue line is a Bitcoin transactions, the number of transactions, and the red line in the bottom here is the Bitcoin Cash number of transactions. And as you can see, currently Bitcoin does hold the lead as far as the number of transactions on the network. Keep in mind that these are number of transactions on the network, not the number of transactions that are actually conducted for business. We don't have an actual way that I know of to measure that accurately, so we have to take a look at the current level. So the current level is, despite the fact that Bitcoin Cash have a huge backlog of unconfirmed transactions, despite the fact that the average fee for Bitcoin network is much higher than Bitcoin Cash network, Bitcoin still currently holding the lead in terms of number of transactions. So I ask myself sometimes, does people really care about transaction speed and transaction cost? And the answer I come up with constantly is that me personally, I don't, because of that it put Bitcoin as a store of value for me. If I'm sending my Bitcoin, for example, from Coinbase to my Ledger Nano S, I really don't care much about if it's gonna take 10 minutes or it's gonna take the whole day, because I don't have a need for speed at the moment for Bitcoin, because it's really just a store of value. But if you are using Bitcoin for transaction, you need to be aware that right now is not a good time. Even Exodus published a warning that because of Bitcoin transaction fee is so high, they do not recommend people to use Bitcoin as a transfer if you don't have to. And if you are a Bitcoin fan, a lot of Bitcoin people quickly pointing out that Lightning Network is common, and Lightning Network is gonna solve all of this: the unconfirmed transaction, the speed of transaction, the cost of transaction. All is gonna go away only if we have Lightning Network quickly. And because Bitcoin is SegWit activated, it is ready for Lightning Network. But is it really? This article here from CoinDesk does go into a lot of more details, and it's not that straightforward. So based on this article, it turned out that it's not that many more transactions. It's only a few millions every week, which is a long way from the current level, but it is a long way from serving a full Earth population. So Lightning Network, according to this article, can only do a few million transactions every week, which is not as much as people thought. It's not going to be enough to compete with Visa or Masters if Bitcoin ever desire to, or if everyone is using Bitcoin as a primary cryptocurrencies in transaction. It's not going to cut it. So it's not going to be really straightforward. I mean, really, the one way to do that, to scale Bitcoin to the level that everyone can use it and use it a lot, is to be able to have off-chain transaction, which is what the rest of this article is focusing on. Able to have an off-chain solution where things are happen off-chain, and then all those transactions will be compiled into one large transaction, and then you upload that one transaction to the network. So the network will only have one entry of the master transaction, and within that transaction, it's gonna be a bunch of smaller transactions. They all pull together and net up to that one transaction on the blockchain. But there was a lot of pushback on Lightning Network, and the big critic against going that route with the Lightning Network with an off-chain solution is that it takes away the transparency of the blockchain. Not every transaction is going to be on the blockchain, even though it happened, because it happened off-chain. So that one of the main critics against Bitcoin processing off-chain. So now that I presented both sides, as you can see, the number of unconfirmed transactions just keep going up because more people are using it a lot at a quicker rate than the transaction can be confirmed by the network. So now that you have a little bit of an idea about the current situation of Bitcoin with the unconfirmed transaction, the Bitcoin transaction fee, the Bitcoin Cash transaction fee, the number of transactions on a network between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and then the Lightning solution and some of the challenges with that. I think you have enough information to make your decision as to whether or not how easy, and there's no right or wrong answer, how easy it is for Bitcoin Cash to win in this category of transaction processing. Here's a funny story about this. There was written a while back about this person who spent Bitcoin in the past, and he kind of calculated how much it costs today. So he said that he bought a Bitcoin T-shirt using Coinbase, and it cost him 0.18 BTC at the time, which is $18. That T-shirt now would cost him $830 US. And he used the same payment system using Bitcoin to pay for a golf caddy, and the caddy service cost him 1 Bitcoin, which is about $93 at the time, and you can only imagine now it's gonna cost him about $7,800. And if you take a look at this one, he sent a donation of $5,000, which is about 142.85 Bitcoin. That would cost him $700,000 in today's price. And keep in mind that this was written a while back, so it's a whole lot more than $700,000 at the moment. So his conclusion is that hold your Bitcoin. You can't just spend your Bitcoin and not replacing it. If the price keeps going up, you're gonna regret it. And this is a good article from Forbes about Bitcoin and currencies. And you can read this if you want, but the one thing that really jumped out at me is that another basic feature of a currency, beyond being a stable store of value, is to facilitate transactions. So that is a key piece of that, and I don't, because Bitcoin don't have this piece. They are giving some example. For instance, Bitcoin in the last month or so rises 50%, all the way from 4,000 something to 7,000 something. Now, in the same time, at the same time, the US dollar only fluctuate about less than 1%. So you can see the differences between the two. Until Bitcoin is that stable, then it can be, the true definition of a currency. So I thought it was a good point. Alright, so let's talk about the second point here. And the third and fourth point kind of go together, so we can go over that quickly. But the second point here is that it needs to win the miner support the hash rate. Because Bitcoin Cash, in my opinion, is not only attacking Bitcoin in terms of the value of the total number of the market, the market cap, but also attacking Bitcoin in terms of hash rate. So going to this website fork.lol. So going back to what happened over the weekend, that was an interesting time where as Bitcoin Cash pick up in value, this is fork.lol, and the way to read this is I only want you to focus on the dotted orange line, which is the Bitcoin difficulty level, and then the dotted blue line, which is the Bitcoin Cash difficulty level. So as Bitcoin Cash price rises, a lot of the miner left Bitcoin, as you can see as evidence here on November 10. Every time that happened, Bitcoin difficulty gone down because a miner left Bitcoin and moved over to my Bitcoin Cash as the value go up, and that in turn move the difficulty level of Bitcoin Cash mining up. So this is the constant battle between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, and the miner, most of them are incentivized to mine on whichever chain, either Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, whichever one that are more profitable. And it changes all the time as they move back and forth, because as they move back and forth between the two chains, they are in fact changing the difficulty level, which also alter their return on investment. So this website kind of track up that. So currently, mining Bitcoin is slightly, if you even call that, better than mining Bitcoin Cash. It's 1.08 versus 1. So a 0.08 more on Bitcoin than Bitcoin Cash. But this is the ongoing battle. Now, how easy is that for Bitcoin Cash to win in this battle? Well, two things. They cannot control the difficulty level because it keep on being adjusted. So I know Bitcoin Cash just went to a hard fork to help ease a lot of this, difficulty level jumping everywhere. But the fact of the matter is, the miner will move to where it make money, and that will alter how difficult it is. And Bitcoin Cash does have a difficulty adjustment, so they will constantly adjust to how much people mining it. And Bitcoin does have a 2 weeks adjustment every 2 weeks, and they do adjust up or down based on how many people mining it. So mining is not that easy to control in terms of difficulty. Now, pricing, it's also out of a lot of people's hands. You cannot control price. You can manipulate it, but you cannot control it. So I think it comes to the matter of which of these will rise in terms of percentages quicker in the future, and that will determine where the miner will be. So Bitcoin Cash, with the big push over the weekend, I don't see any news as far as they're getting new supporter, new business supporting it. There are new and exciting thing coming to Bitcoin Cash network. It's just a pure power move in terms of value. But Bitcoin is a little bit more different. There has been a lot of good news on Bitcoin front, and with the most recent one being this morning, there were the Square app, which is the app where it let individuals accept credit card payments and debit card payments, announced that they are gonna integrate Bitcoin buying and selling. They're gonna test it on their application to see how that work out. So that brings a lot of fresh enthusiasm back into Bitcoin. And of course, the CME things is just all over the place at the moment. That CME group is coming. That's gonna come with a lot of the money from institution is gonna dump into Bitcoin. So let's refresh this real quick while we at it. So we are now at all-time high, $7,942. Now, I think, and this is only my opinion, not financial advice, that in the next few months or even until the end of next year, Bitcoin gonna have a fantastic run. There's gonna be a lot of money entering the market, a lot more exposure to everyone, and it's gonna bring a lot of people that are coming to the market for the first time. A lot of people who may not have been interested, but as Bitcoin price keep on climbing up, as more institutional money coming in and Bitcoin price keep going up, it's gonna bring a lot more people with it to go into this market. And when institutional coming into the market, there are not a lot of places where they can come into. So Bitcoin is gonna be where the most money will be, and then some of them may come down to Ethereum because they are coming with a lot of money. And with that, they need a market as big as Bitcoin, which is about 132 billion US dollar at the moment, to absorb that without affecting the price and provide the liquidity that they need. And they cannot do that through something like Bitcoin Cash. $15 million market is not big enough for them. That liquidity is not there. If they try to liquidate a few $1 billion worth of Bitcoin Cash, the price gonna slump it, and they are going to pay crazy slippage as they try to do that. Therefore, Bitcoin is the only viable solution they have at the moment. So my guess is that the price of Bitcoin will continue to rise over the next few months or even into the end of next year, and that is gonna keep most of the miner on the Bitcoin network. As you can see, as the price go up, it's more profitable to mine under the Bitcoin chain, given that you are spending the same amount of electricities and the same amount of money on equipment, it's better for you to mine Bitcoin over Bitcoin Cash at the moment. And this number just got adjusted because the price changed. So that's what I mean. So ask yourself how easy it is for Bitcoin Cash to win over Bitcoin in terms of getting a lot of miners to stay active on their chain in the event that Bitcoin price keep going up a lot quicker than Bitcoin Cash. Now, at the moment they do have kind of like inverse movement, but I don't think that's gonna be inverse forever. But at the moment it does seem like every time Bitcoin go up in value, Bitcoin Cash, which is negative 25% now, now negative 27%. So they do seem like they move inverse of each other at the moment. So very interesting. So that's the second point, and that's the information that I have. So let's move on to number 3, business acceptance. So with business acceptance, this is the list from 99bitcoins.com, and the business acceptance, there's a huge list here of all the big business and some small businesses that accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. And I cannot find something similar to Bitcoin Cash. And my guess is that Bitcoin Cash does not have a lot of business supporting at the moment. And I get it, they are brand new, they only been around for 3 months, so it can change in the future. But at the current level, Bitcoin definitely have way more support from businesses than Bitcoin Cash. So that's just the fact. But I will keep an eye out. Hopefully by next year, this time, we will see something different. And the last point I kind of already touched base on, which is institutional acceptance. I already talked about that when I talk about the fact that big money are coming from institutional, and Bitcoin is going to be the candidate, the number one candidate where the money going to come to, not Bitcoin Cash at the moment, because simply for the fact that there's not enough liquidity on Bitcoin Cash network. And the one last thing I do want to point out is that these are some of the largest exchanges currently. You have Gemini, you have Bitfinex, you have BitFlyer from Japan, you have Coinbase, you have Kraken. These are the biggest Bitcoin exchanges for Bitcoin at the moment. And the reason why I bring this up is because if Bitcoin Cash, in the event that they win on all these fronts, so say Bitcoin Cash definitely dominate in any of these 4, they are, and they want to take the name Bitcoin, it's going to be incredibly difficult because everything has to happen at the same time. All these exchanges and more, that's a whole lot more, but these are the big ones, have to agree to change the name Bitcoin Cash to a ticker symbol BTC across the board without any hiccup. Because if they don't do that across the board, for example, if Bitfinex change Bitcoin Cash to BTC, and then BTC become BTC Classic or whatever they decide to call that, and you try to send BTC, which originally BCH for Bitcoin Cash, so you want to move the new BTC from Bitfinex to your Coinbase account, that's going to create chaos if Coinbase has not changed or agreed to change the current Bitcoin Cash to Bitcoin, assuming they supporting Bitcoin Cash starting next year. So you can see the chaos that they're gonna cause in terms of exchanges, not counting businesses who currently supporting Bitcoin. How do they gonna support Bitcoin Cash, not a new BTC, but what originally Bitcoin Cash, and what they supporting currently is actually, say, BTC Legacy or BTC Classics, whatever you like to call that. So that's another layer of challenge. So those are my thoughts as far as whether or not Bitcoin Cash have a chance to take over Bitcoin. Long story short is that maybe, I mean, that possibility is there, but to me at the moment, based on what I just presented to you, it's slim in my opinion. But I could be totally wrong. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, leave me a comment in the section below. And I hope this video help you understand the situation a little bit. And as always, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. hit the like button because it does help other people find the same information. And I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.